Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Declassified. We have an exciting show for you tonight, and we upped our game from the last episode. If you didn't check out the last episode, we ended it with a clip that gave some people nightmares and at the very least creeped some people out to the max. I know I said that like a high schooler. Creeped you out to the max, bro. But we upped our game this week, and we're going to not only show you one clip that's going to creep you out, I do believe we have three quality clips that I literally could close out any show, but I said, you know what, we need to up the bar, and I put them all into one episode. We're going to be talking about ghosts, like always, shadow people, UFOs, Bigfoot, and more. Let's get into it. This is Declassified. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Declassified, and I appreciate everyone who's signed up to be a VIP member, and I, want to say welcome to all the new VIP members. I know after the last episode that we aired on the After Hours show, we did pick up some new followers on that, so welcome to the adventure, and you are in for a treat because tonight is going to be a good episode. We've got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about, and we're going to be showing you clips, and we're going to be looking for audio. I've got some more real haunts, but let's kick it up a notch and let's talk about what a real haunt would look like if it was aggressive or potentially a bad spirit. Now, a lot of times I've talked about, what you would actually be looking for on a security camera, like, oh, a chair moving, oh, this moving, oh, you might see an orb, oh, you might see whatever, but nothing scary. Well, I also don't want to lead you down the road of saying, well, there can't ever be a time where something aggressive could happen in your house. So we're going to take a look at what real haunts would look like if they were aggressive spirits. Now, when we talk about the more aggressive spirits, we're going to be talking about the ones that are more willing to kind of interact with you, present themselves in different way, manifest themselves. So with that, we're diving right back into the world of shadow people as well. And I've got some really good clips. Like I said, these three clips that we're going to end the show on, I literally could have for the grand finale of any show, but I'm putting them all in one episode, and we're going to dive in and we're going to tackle these all at once. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it, and let's look at the first clip. Now, these first clips that we're going to be talking about, we're going to start off slow, we're going to build our way up, and we're going to talk about this. This is a clip that came in, and it was kind of one that someone sent me because they're like, hey, what's your opinion on this? And I love when people send me clips. So feel free to send me any clips of paranormal things you have. If it's something that looks real or quality or something we could talk about, we'll definitely put it on the show. And that's something that I would love to do. Now, looking at this, what we're looking at a security camera. Okay, so we can clearly see when I'm kind of moving my mouse. This is 6/22/2021. Looks like it's probably about 11 o'clock at night. No, sorry, that's way off. I'm sorry. That's like 9 o'clock. 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's about 9 o'clock at night, if I had to guess. And what we're looking at is we're looking on the right side of the screen. Now, on the right side of the screen, what you're going to be looking for and what you're going to see is you are going to see, it's almost like a silhouette of a person. Now, the reason this clip was really hard to identify what's going on is because the clip kind of starts right where you actually see this quote-unquote ghost that was brought to my attention. Now, I'm going to kind of point it out there. Not a whole lot of audio here. I mean, you are going to hear like the outside noise and things like that, but we're looking kind of right here where my mouse is. I can clearly see what looks like a head. I'm going to assume that that's like an arm. That's like the mid-torso area. And then what I'm looking at like down here, that would be a leg. And then you have another leg down there. So we start the clip and it just literally, it walks right off the screen. Okay. Or runs. Well, walks, runs, whatever. So again, I'm going to kind of play that one more time. And we're looking here. And as I hit play, you're going to notice that it just runs. Okay. And there's not a whole lot of audio. Now you can see a cat. So kind of run real time and all of that stuff. So is the cat chasing something? We don't know. Can the cat see that? But we're looking here. I'm going to hit play one more time. I'm going to go full screen so you guys can see this. I hit play and then kind of the guy just he runs. Now, it's almost like a jogging motion too. Like as you see him just run, I'm going to go back one more time. And that's it. So he's kind of just, it is very much like a jogging motion, like he's running. And then we're going to see the cat kind of go over here. Not really a whole lot to kind of show you after that, but the cat kind of runs over in the direction of what that thing was running. Now, 9 o'clock at night, when we take a look at the timestamp, it's about 9:13, if I'm not mistaken. What could be running out there? It's clearly transparent. It's clearly transparent, right? Okay, so we can kind of see through it here, is kind of the point that I'm trying to make. So we can kind of see through it, and it's a pretty fluid motion. I mean, no delay. It kind of looks like it's running. The question is, what could this be? All right, so this genuinely could be a person where the camera was just a little too laggy to kind of pick up what it actually was. Okay, so if it really is a person, when we actually see this cat come into frame, that cat, in theory, if the camera was really a low quality, that cat would be the same kind of blurry, same kind of laggy. The other thing too is, I mean, it looks like a full HD camera once that cat kind of runs in. So that kind of takes away from that. Like, why would everything be HD except for this one guy kind of running right here? So I don't know. You might have something here. And this is one where I'd kind of throw it out to the comments. So everyone kind of watching, what do you think? I mean, is this something that could be an apparition? If so, is it just going through the motions? Is it residual? Clearly didn't acknowledge anything else in this shot, so could be residual. But I think this is interesting, right? This is an interesting one. Very hard to kind of go and do that, so we'll move on to the next. Now, when we talk about the next one, this is a sighting, a potential sighting of what they're saying could be a Bigfoot. Now, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the skunk ape, they're all about the same thing. I would say a Bigfoot's more in the woods. A Yeti or a Sasquatch would be found kind of in the snow in the mountains, kind of like what you're looking at here. A skunk ape is what we have. There's actually Florida is really where you hear a lot of those. You have the grassmen, which would be up in Ohio, all about the same thing. Now, this is a sighting of what people think could potentially be a Bigfoot, and this Bigfoot is climbing up a mountain. So let's take a look at that.
We're on top of Tricuni Peak, and pretty sure there's just Sasquatch down there. Oh my god. I can't really see it very well. There's this little black dot walking.
All right, so I think there's a couple things that we kind of have to point out here. If this really is a Bigfoot, then in that scenario, what we're looking at, we have to, size is really not going to happen with such a small visual like this. So what we really need to look for is we really need to look for how smooth it's walking through the snow, right? So those people there kind of know, okay, this snow is kind of, it's tough. We had a hard time walking through it. So we're looking at this, and we need to look at the speed at which that thing, I'm going to say thing right now, or Bigfoot, is climbing up the mountain, how easily it's walking through the snow. And then ideally what I would look for is I would look for some kind of landmark where I can kind of figure out, okay, compared to this landmark, how tall is it on that landmark? And then I would try to get over there and actually go to the landmark that I looked at and say, okay, let me stand next to it. It's up to here on here. And that's kind of how you can get a real read on what we're looking at here from such a far distance. And then if all of that lines up to where I pick a landmark, I see that it's about that high on the landmark, I go over there and I look how tall that is in comparison to me. Now, the footage I have after I do all of that, I know is either, yes, that's a Bigfoot I caught, or no, it's not because this is the height it's at and whatever. But either way, you get this footage and then you go and do your research.
Same Scotch. Sure, that's him. Look at how the way he's walking.
Oh, I wish you could see it better in this thing.
He's huge.
That is pretty big. Oh, I can't zoom in anymore. Just to give you an idea where we are right now.
Now I like this guy filming. He's doing a good job. He really is doing a good job.
Why would he walk up that way?
Now, for everyone watching, we're looking
at... Why would you walk up that ridge?
We're looking at this where my mouse is right here. All right, so we're looking right here where my mouse is. That little dot we're thinking is a Bigfoot.
Good thing we brought beers. We could lure them over here.
All right, now that's how you know that they're just stupid college kids. But I mean, good job for kind of getting this footage right here.
That's bizarre.
Not bad at all. Now, I've kind of never really thrown this out there, but I don't know what people are thinking as far as some of our listeners. Do you guys believe in Bigfoot? Do you think it's a possibility? That's one of those things where I want to believe this. I really, really, really want to believe that there is a Bigfoot, a Sasquatch, a Yeti, a whatever. But until we get some real evidence, unfortunately, Bigfoot is one of those things where you try to look up any footage and you find people just playing pranks. They're in gorilla suits. I mean, it's really hard to find that genuine, real footage. So if this is the case, this is probably one of the better ones because this guy, even though he's really zoomed in, he's holding the camera somewhat steady.
Where would he have come from?
He was coming down this valley down here.
Right. And so that was kind of it. I mean, not overly crazy. It's definitely something. It's definitely something. Now, we're going to move on to the next one. There is another clip that I tried really hard to find, and the only thing I could find from it, it's a very similar clip in the sense of it's a Bigfoot kind of going up a mountain. Now, this one I'm going to show you right now, I think is a little better than the one we just watched, but it's very similar. And the reason I put them together is because there are similarities, and I don't know how many more times I'm going to have to say that, but when we compare them, there's trends. Now we're starting to see trends, and now in animals, there's different species and stuff, but a lot of the animals have the same kind of practices, processes that they do, and just the same trends. So could we be looking at the same thing with the Bigfoot? Now, I couldn't find the original video, so I could only pull the news video, but this is the footage, and for the most part, they keep it intact. But again, it's an interesting thing when the news picks up some paranormal stuff, or in this case, information about cryptids. Check it out.
Seriously, look how big it is. I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
It was a bluebird January morning here in the foothills of northeast Provo when a group of guys saw a figure on the mountain that looked like something they've never seen before.
You can't just see something that's maybe a once-in-a-century discovery and go do your 9-to-5 job. You got to go look for fur or footprints or some kind of evidence.
And
I agree with that. All right, so what we're looking at when we go back right here is we're looking where my mouse is, that little dot. Now, it looks very similar to what we just watched in the previous video. The only difference is this time they're a little bit closer and the dot looks a little bit bigger. Now, again, they did the right thing. Now, this is kind of what you need to do. You record it, and then this guy, when he was talking about, you can't just go to your 9-to-5 job, you got to go and actually investigate what this could be. They actually went up there and they stood right where this thing was, and they compared. They had someone stand on the ground, and then someone went up there, and they had the person who was on the ground level, like where the camera is right now, compare what it looks like when a person was standing there versus what they see right here, kind of on the big screen. So they did that comparison, and then after they did that comparison, it gave them their size reference on the trees, on everything else, literally what I just told everyone to do.
Sasquatch.
It was a bluebird January morning here in the foothills of northeast Provo when a group of guys saw a figure on the mountain that looked like something they've never seen before.
You can't just see something that's maybe a once-in-a-century discovery and go do your 9-to-5 job. You got to go look for fur or footprints or some kind of evidence.
And the camera was rolling as Austin took to the mountain with a buddy on a search for the elusive Bigfoot.
So I'm seeing something that is not deer tracks anymore. We're trying to determine what it is.
Their findings were inconclusive.
Was it a bear?
Okay, now let me kind of talk about what we're looking at right here. Now, when we're looking at this is very much a comparison. So the right side of the screen is the person. The left side of the screen is what they're thinking was Bigfoot. There's a difference. I mean, the one on the left looks a little bigger, bulkier, monkey-like, I would say, than the one on the right. The one on the right could almost go unnoticed, but the one on the left, it stands out a little bit more.
Bear? Maybe. That's plausible. What is a person? Also plausible. Was it something else? I think that's also plausible. Who knows?
On the other hand, I spoke to a curator from the Natural History Museum of Utah who says not only is that figure in the video not Sasquatch, but it's safe to say that Sasquatch is not something that would even exist.
Okay. All right, fine. I'm open to that opinion. But that is very close-minded. So nope, that's not like you're not even going to entertain it. Okay, I would like to hear what they think it is. And I'm sure they're going to give us an answer. That was a bear. That was a bobcat. All right, well, give me your reason.
What's the likelihood that there are big animals that have gone undetected by scientists and by trained observers?
Dr. Eric Rickard has spent much
Very likely. Okay, so here's my argument to this. When you hear that, they're like, what's the chance that we wouldn't know about it? I'm a scientist. Okay, so literally every single month of every year, we're discovering new creatures all the time. The ocean is really the biggest one, where they've discovered, new types of jellyfish, new types of fish just in general. There's been new birds that have been discovered in different kind of continents. So it's happening all the time, right? Okay, and here's the other thing too. How often are we going to certain parts of the world? Because a big portion of the world hasn't even been discovered yet. So it's very easy, as a matter of fact, to actually have an animal that hasn't been discovered.
of his career exploring places people have never gone before in search of new species. So far, no Bigfoot or anything like it.
There are lots of undiscovered things, particularly in the natural world. But they don't take the form of giant apes running around in largely settled areas of the world.
So here's the thing. He says he goes out and he's looking for undiscovered creatures, but he has such a closed mind, he already thinks he knows what the undiscovered creature is going to look like, right? That's a little hypocritical.
What do you believe?
I'm really hoping I get to go look again. Maybe there's something out there to find right here in Utah, even in Provo.
And that's kind of it. So when we kind of go through, as a Bigfoot, I throw it out there. Now, again, where I leave you on the whole Bigfoot thing is like, I really want that to be true, but I myself have never had any kind of experience with it. I would love to at least come across one where I see it in the woods or whatever. I have no previous experience, and I've only seen a couple videos that could really, I could validate and say, okay, that looks pretty real to me. I'm willing to put my name on that and say that I think that's real. Like I said, when you look up Bigfoot, you're going to find a lot of joke videos, a lot of clickbait. It's really tough to kind of isolate those ones, but I want it to be real. That's where I'm going to kind of leave that. Now, let's take a look at the next one. When we go over to the next clip, we are going to be looking at a UFO. Now, there's not a whole lot to look at here, but we are going to break down some things. Now, I'm going to kind of put this up and let's take a look. What you're going to see right here is it looks like just a bar of light. All right. Now, this is kind of what we saw in the sky. This is what they saw in the sky. It was like they saw like a saucer, but instead of the saucer being lit up, this is the inside. So this is like the edge of like the window of where it's like the edge where the lights would go around the circular saucer part. They kind of saw that lit up. Now, what makes this interesting is this is older. So this was in 2008, and you can kind of see the timestamp on the bottom. But what makes it interesting is that once they kind of zoomed in, they started to notice that they could see shapes inside of this UFO. Okay. Now, as they start to go, I think there's one point where they're going to pause it, and then we're going to take a look. So you can start to see the saucer shape, and then inside, as they zoomed in, now it's a very shaky frame, so at one point they're going to freeze the frame, but when they do freeze it, you can start to see that there's going to be a very familiar shape that I think all of us kind of would joke about when we talk about UFOs and aliens, things like that. But they kind of freeze it right here. Now, this doesn't really do it justice. So what we're looking at would be this right here, okay? Now, they're saying, and this is a very popular UFO video for this reason, but they're saying they see some figures here. So maybe one right here and maybe one right here. So we continue, and then those figures, once they zoom in on another frame, start to look like this. Okay, now at this point, this is where I'm going to lose some people here. This is really zoomed in to what we were just looking at. Now, if you go and find the original video, they zoom out and you see it on the beach, and then they zoom in. And when you're looking at the original video, you can still see this right here. It just looks like a little dot, in the light that we were just looking at. But this shape right here, and in my opinion, this is probably one of the only, I've seen one other video that was convincing. This is probably one of the only clips that I've seen of potentially extraterrestrials, because this was in a UFO that was sighted and recorded. Now, we kind of joke about the shape and all of this stuff, but you see the big head right here, okay? You can see what would be like a mouth, an eye, and then there's another one right here too. But that is a pretty clear shot as far as blurry shots go. I know that was kind of, they weren't, it didn't quite make sense, but as far as things go, this is probably one of the more real and impressive UFO clips I've seen in a long time. And they kind of go, and I do believe they're just going to show you a couple other UFOs as far as this too. So kind of far away, that's what we were looking at. UFO clips don't overly impress me because they're usually just a dot or like a bar of light, which is what we initially saw in that last one, until they zoomed in on the bar of light. So you have your saucer here, and then they were kind of looking over there and in some spot, and then they zoomed in, and then what you get as a result is this. So again, it wasn't the UFO that overly impressed me, but it was the fact that when they zoomed in, we saw this. Is this real? This is one where it was so amazing that I part of me says maybe it's fake, but the other part is like, I don't know, because when you go and watch that original video, it's very shaky and movie, and they had to frame by frame it to get this. So this is a coin flip for me. Let me know what you think in the comments. I wish I had a better video, but this is a hard one to find. And it's funny because ever since the government announced that UFOs were a thing, all you can find is like the 2 videos that the government released. And I know that's not the accurate number, but like literally that will overflow any real search that you would find. So it's actually harder to find UFO footage now that they've actually announced that UFOs are real. So it's kind of funny how that worked out. So it was hard to even find this clip, but I found it in a montage of other UFO stuff. Now, let's go over to the world of paranormal. We're going to kind of very quickly jump into some real investigations and kind of some real intense clips. So this is where it's going to pick up. This is inside of a kitchen, industrial kitchen, or, kind of science lab. I can't really tell. I guess it's more of a lab than a kitchen. But you're going to see some objects start to move. And I think this is interesting. And part of the reason that this caught my attention is because scientists are very much against like paranormal. Like everything's got a reason. It's all science, blah, 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 blah. But this is actually a haunting in a science lab, which I kind of thought was poetic justice. Don't think there's a whole lot of sound here, so I'm going to play it. What we're looking at is we're just looking at a dude. There's people walking. So this is like the middle of the day. This guy is going to kind of do his thing, and then eventually you're going to see that fly off the table, which I couldn't tell you what that is. It like kind of looks like like a salt. You know how you have those big containers of like idolized salt? Kind of looks like that. But it's probably not. Again, they're in some kind of lab. But the guy's sitting there. His hands are occupied. That flies right off the table. He takes a look at it. Then obviously he's going to go and try to get something to clean it. Not freaking out. Scientist, remember, he's like, oh, there's got to be a mathematical formula for why that happened. He goes and gets someone, and then someone comes in, and then they're kind of explaining and talking about what happened. Now, I do, again, like this because it is something, with 2 scientists. So anytime you can take someone who doesn't believe in the paranormal and kind of flip them over to the side of opening their mind to the possibilities, I really like that. So that's part of the reason this clip is in here. Now we're going to keep moving, and as we keep moving, this video was literally titled Demon Moves Objects in Attic or something like that. I hate when people do this. We've talked about it over and over. I hate that whole Hollywood. It's going to murder you. It's going to kill you. No. All right. So let's see what this demon can do. All right. We're looking at some objects in an attic. And remember, this video was titled Demon Did This. Okay. But it's really not, it's not anything scary. So definitely intelligent. Now it's going to be really quiet for a little bit, and then there's going to be kind of a loud noise, and that's just the object moving. So kind of as we go here, you're going to now start to see some things move. I'm going to go full screen. Okay, here we go. You're going to see some more objects move in a second. I don't know if you noticed it, but the guitar. There we go. Now, honestly, this is probably real. We've talked about what a real haunting would look like. Honestly, I believe this is it. Now, the other thing about this too is as you're kind of looking at some of these things move, I don't entirely know that this would be something that I would notice, right? Like, I put all this stuff in my attic. I don't know if I'm going to notice the next time I go up that it kind of fell over like that. It's just so subtle to where all these things are starting to move that I might not even know. I might think I put it up there like that. But it's crazy. Here, I'm going to even scroll down so you guys can see this. The name of the video, Demon Throwing Objects in My Attic. So, like, what about this? Now, let me ask all of you, now that you're part of Declassified VIP members and you've been watching stuff like this, do we think this is a demonic haunt? Absolutely not. In no way. And anyone who's still watching, who's watched every episode at this point that thinks it is, you have not been paying attention anywhere close enough. We've seen some scary haunts that even what would be classified as scary, I would still say was not a demonic haunt in any way. This, I would say this is an intelligent, probably a poltergeist. That's what you get with moving objects. But again, and I'm talking to everyone watching right now, what about this is scary? Okay, startling, it might startle you if you see something move in your house, but really, when we break it down, what about this is really scary? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. But that was one. Again, I always like bringing real clips to the table. Now, this is not very often that I get to say this. The news finally brought to the table some real good footage. I'm just going to let this one roll, and I'm just going to let you guys know you're going to see a fair share of apparitions. So manifestations and kind of quote-unquote ghosts. If you've never seen a ghost, these are potential ghosts.
Are ghosts real? Several recent encounters suggest there might be more things in heaven and earth than we can dream of. A personal trainer believes he captured a ghost on camera in this English castle window. Check it out, as something appears to be lurking in the opening of the wall at Hearst Castle. The man thinks it's this...
I'm going to pause it right there. I think that's legit. I mean, we're looking at that. We've talked about some other things on this series. This kind of looks like what it's supposed to. Now, what we're looking at here, I couldn't tell you exactly that. Ooh, that one's giving me chills a little bit. I couldn't tell you exactly what we're looking at, but when we look at what footage should look like when you really capture something, this is kind of it. Think about those shadow people. They like to peek around corners. It's kind of falling in line.
Lurking in the opening of the wall at Hearst Castle. The man thinks it's the same spirit he saw at the same place on a previous visit.
If there's any spirits here at all, are you able to show yourself, please? Try and appear by that window, by the brick wall at the end.
33-year-old Tony Ferguson tried to debunk the second encounter by saying it was just someone else visiting the location, until he found out on the other side of that wall is a tunnel that's nearly impossible to access. Creepy! And look at this seemingly harmless family photo.
Uh-oh.
It pictures a father and his 2 kids just a week after the dad suffered a nearly fatal heroin overdose. But look closer, just above the young boy's knee. Is that a hand? Chris Downing, the children's father, who has been drug-free for 4 years, says he may have brought something back with him after his near-death experience. He still won't look at the picture to this day. A mom who thought she was simply taking...
Do you guys remember, and I paused the video, do you remember a long time ago I played that, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I played that clip of a kid crawling on like a cabinet and then a hand came out. Does that not remind you of that? A little bit, right? Are we seeing? That's interesting, right? I'm kind of connecting the dots here. I don't know what it means, but it's not the first time that I've seen a hand, just a hand, show up.
A video of her son on his bike was in for a surprise, and she went back to look at the footage.
That's a good one.
In addition to her little boy, she may have captured the image of an apparition looking down on him from a nearby window.
Now, here's the problem I have with this. This one I don't overly believe. Okay, the hand, I'm open to. The other one, oh man, I'm getting chills. The other one, yes, I'm open to that. The problem I have with this right here is when we take a look at it, it almost looks like it's a printed cutout. And I'm looking at the background. I don't care so much about the figure, but I'm looking at the background and it looks like someone just printed something out that would take up the whole window, if that makes sense. So there's something off, because look at this comparison. So look at the window when there's nothing in it. It's much darker than when that figure's in there. That background, in theory, if there was something there, that background should still be dark as well. So I have a slight problem with this one, but the other ones I'm on board with.
Him from a nearby window. It went down at the Old Wayne Mansion in England, a property dating back to the 19th century. When the mom asked officials what it could be, they told her only security would have been inside that building that day. And could this be a ghost?
I've talked about this over and over. No, that is not. Okay, so we have something. We don't know what it is. Let's not jump and say it's a ghost. I have a question. So can we only see this on the camera, or can we see this in person? I mean, it's too late to ask that now, but these are some things you need to think about when you're trying to debunk things too. So one thing, as the camera moves, if it moves with the camera, it could easily be a smudge or a lens flare.
Watch as this otherworldly blob floats across the property before disappearing into the sky. It was caught on camera by a paranormal investigator. The Tower of London has a somewhat eerie history. In the past, it was used as a prison and place of execution. Henry VIII had his ex-wife beheaded there in 1536, and the guy who tried to blow up Parliament in the 17th century was tortured there. So, could it have been a vengeful ghost looking for retribution? Maybe. And look at this creepy footage. A mother of two says her friends told
That's
her
a good
to
one,
run
but that gave me
after
chills.
she showed them.
Oh,
Melissa Smith is convinced she's being haunted by the big...
I'm not going to lie. I did not watch this far ahead, but that is the kind of thing. Oh, that gives me goosebumps. Oh, it's the eyes. We've talked about this over and over. It's the eyes. But I am impressed that the news is showing stuff like this. So good job, news.
Baby she lost in a miscarriage. Melissa suffered a miscarriage in September of 2016. Since then, odd things have happened around her house, starting the same unfortunate night that she lost her baby. She says a children's toy turned on by itself and started playing music in the middle of the night. Then came the strange knocks in the house and
I don't like that.
doors swinging open. But when she
that's
saw
giving me
this
chills.
face appear on her daughter's baby monitor, it really freaked her out. So whether or not you believe in spirits, you have to admit what's already been caught on camera is pretty convincing.
Whew, I'm not going to lie. That was probably one of the best news clips I've ever really seen, because they actually showed real stuff, minus the one that's on the camera right now. I don't necessarily believe that. But the other clips, those are real. That one with the cradle or the crib or whatever, that gave me goosebumps. That was a good one. Unexpected, because I didn't watch that far. So that was a good one. But as soon as I saw it, and then the more I looked at it, it was like, it's exactly, and again, a couple months ago, we played the clip of that thing in the top of the doorway. It reminded me of that. All right. That was kind of it. Now we're getting into the clips that could potentially be a grand finale. All right. So buckle up. We've got some good stuff. Let's go and let's follow this investigator inside of an abandoned hospital. Here we go.
We've been here that long and we're already witnessing some stuff. Now supposedly there's tunnels, hidden tunnels that connect all of the hospitals together. And that is one of the hottest spots for shadow figures, ghosts, but we're gonna have to keep an eye out. This is probably a place where we probably shouldn't split up very much, because...
Okay, now, I forget the name of where they are. They're in an abandoned hospital. I would almost say closer to like an asylum. But this is one of the most notorious haunted places in whatever state they're in, I forget. And the way it is you're going to notice that the building is very run down. Okay, so potential for some noises, right? But we also have to try to decipher what is the building, what could be an animal, and then what could be paranormal. So that can be really tough in a scenario like this. And then the other thing is the safety. So you're going to notice that there's rooms with no floors. There have been reports of people falling and getting seriously hurt here. So that's why they're investigating in the day. Now, last episode I said it. If a place is going to be haunted, it's going to be haunted no matter what. This is a great example of that. They're investigating in the day, okay? Keep that in mind. That's why I really like this clip or this video.
A lot of people have reported falling through floors, falling in holes. Stairs have been collapsing. It's one of the reports too. Doesn't smell bad in here. It came from like went from here, like. Really? Yeah. Are you still in here? These are patient rooms.
They're what? Patient rooms, yeah.
Well, yeah, these are the rooms. Yeah. Where they used to house like.
All right, so I'm going to skip ahead because I've got this timestamp to where some things are going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead to about 5 minutes. And we're going to kind of pay attention and we're going to watch. Listen, okay? So we're listening for sounds. We're listening for doors, any kind of thing tapping, voices.
If you can do so safely. What's in there? Let me know if you see something. Yeah, it's not really anything in there. I put my camera down just for 1 second and I heard some noise go. I don't even know if I caught it. I tried to record as soon as I heard it. Yo, James! You're over there?
Now pay attention, people.
I just heard a noise coming from over here. Hey, James is over here. What the f was that? Just a coffee can.
All right, now let me go back. I want to kind of go over this one more time. Let me see. So it was at 5:23 where this can gets thrown. Check this out. So this is kind of a very, very valuable clip when we talk about like the world of paranormal, things like this. You see that can from the ground go up, like get thrown, or I would say even more so like kicked. It goes flying at the guy and it's in frame the entire time. I like that.
What the f was that? Just a coffee can. I don't know. I don't know what just happened right now.
It's a good one.
You're not gonna catch me in here at nighttime. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, I'm just kidding. I think it'd be quite exciting at nighttime, but I don't know, sometimes your mind can play tricks on you in the dark. I mean, a lot of paranormal investigators come here. More than likely they come at nighttime. Maybe whatever spirit is here likes to rest during the day, and we were disturbing it. Heard people falling through the...
Honestly, that's a really good theory. Never really heard anyone think of it like that, but that is kind of a good theory. Now, I'm going to go ahead to about 7 minutes. So let's see, 7 minutes and we'll go about 10 seconds. Again, he's in a room and you can see it's all beat up and things like that.
You either try to break in or break out. What's this? Oh!
So let me break that down for people. What he kind of heard was something behind him, And as he turned around, the door kind of started to move. I don't want to say slam shut, not like some of the other clips that we've seen in the past, but it starts to kind of move. He opens the door and then there's no one there. So turns around. The door kind of starts to move, not a ton. Then he opens it up and there's nothing out there. Here's some bumping. I don't think there's anything.
What the hell?
And then right there, he calls to his buddy, and you hear his buddy like a floor away or something, totally in a different area. There's one more clip from this investigation that I want to show you. And we're going to go all the way back to Shadow People. Let's go to about 30 seconds as they're in the hallway. Watch this. Okay, ready? Watch. Check this out.
What? Seen a shadow creature right now. Whoa. I hope I caught that too.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to play it for you one more time. Check this out. It's real quick. It goes from left to right.
Whoa. What? Seen a shadow.
Let me try to pause when it's actually there. I'm really quickly I'm clicking and playing. I'm trying to get it the right. There it is. Right here. So I paused it right there. That is a very quick, very common. Think about the motion. Anytime we've talked about shadow people, things like that, they always they'll peek out and then they disappear really quickly. You've heard me say it in other episodes. I'm like, I'm more amazed at the movement than really anything else. This is like, they might have actually captured the movement of a shadow person. So like something this fast is kind of nuts.
Whoa! What? Seen a shadow creature right now. Whoa.
Now, to be clear, there was something else someone pointed out when they showed me this. Okay, and now you're going to notice on the right side here, you're going to see a shadow. Kind of there. That's what you're seeing. That is 100% the reflection of light from behind whoever this guy right here. So just so you know, that's not anything paranormal. What we're looking at is what goes across the hallway.
Whoa! What? Seen a shadow creature right now. Whoa.
There you go. Now, I am going to play the other side of this. There is one possibility as to what this could be. Potentially, I'm thinking when I paused it, it did look a little bit like a crow, like a bird. So apart from that, if we go into the next room, if it is a bird though, we should see a bird or we should hear a bird flapping around. That was virtually silent, and I don't think they made any reference of birds or anything like that. So again, they could have just caught a shadow person darting across the hallway, which in the daytime, it will still happen, which is, it's like I said, if a place is haunted, it's going to be haunted. You just have to be in the right spot at the right time. This is a great example of that.
I hope I caught that too. Where was it? It was like, I don't know. Like it's not our shadows either. It like darted from one side of the hall to the other.
So that's about it for that one. I'm really not going to dive any deeper onto that because we have another clip to get to. Now, we're not going to really watch a whole lot of this clip, but this is an investigator. This is another one. So a lot of crazy stuff happens in Russia, all over. We've talked a lot about from Mexico too. Like a lot of the cryptids and stuff we've talked about so far come from Mexico. Now, this is another one, and this is an investigator. They're going to go and they're investigating an abandoned place, and we're going to watch a little bit of it, and then I'm going to skip right to the part we're going to talk about.
Es un poblado de Jalisco hasta donde hemos llegado esta noche para grabar una nueva investigación. Ahí se alcanza a ver a lo lejos las luces de este poblado. Es muy pequeñito, son muy pocos habitantes los que están aquí. Ya cayó la noche,
so
como
we get the
pueden
point.
ver.
We get the point. It's an investigator. They're going to do an investigation. Then they start kind of going through the place, and they're looking at things, so on, so forth. And we're going to get to one point where I'm going to point something out to you. But keep in mind the clip that we just watched because it's all going to layer off of that.
Está haciendo mucho aire aquí. Obviamente ya estamos en un espacio abierto. Javier, aquí hay una silla también abandonada. Este es el árbol que comentaba. Este es el árbol donde dicen que encontraron los restos humanos. Sí. Aquí fue donde encontraron los restos de un hombre que nos comentaba Salvador, que está, estaba sentado el cadáver de este hombre. ¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Sabes qué?
Now, I don't know if this is the video or what, but I kind of hear talking in the background. If only I knew what they were saying, it'd make it a little easier, but I kind of heard a little bit of talking in the background. But I also hear cars. So they might be really close to like town or something like that. But I am going to skip ahead because there's no need in watching something that's kind of not really there. So we're going to go ahead to about 14 minutes. Okay. So if I go ahead to about here, I want you to watch. All right. I want you all to watch and then I'll come back and we'll break it down as a team.
Digo, y es muy impactante lo que hemos vivido dentro de este sitio donde sé que hay almas en pena o probablemente solo una que está aquí y que es la que se ha manifestado. Esta oración fue para ti y para todas las demás entidades que se encuentran aquí. Yo creo que es momento de retirarnos porque... ¡Ay, no mames, no mames, no mames! ¡Ven! ¡Ay, güey! ¡No mames, yo vi algo! ¡Vamos, ven! ¡Ven, ven, ven! Algo se asomó aquí. ¡Ven, por favor, algo! ¡Córrele, córrele, córrele! ¡Ay! ¡Ay! ¡No mames! ¿Qué hay aquí? ¡Córrele, Meli, ven! ¡Ay, no mames! Es que yo aquí vi que se asomó algo, te lo juro.
Now, they did the right thing there. Hopefully you guys all saw that. I'm going to go back about here. There is what we see. Shadow person. One of my favorite things to talk about is this right here. Now, we see it kind of poke its head up. Right there. And I mean, it kind of just stood up too. And then now it just disappears. But again, that motion, remember that motion we just talked about in the last clip? It goes up, and then when it goes away quicker. Like it goes away like really quick. And they did the right thing here too. I mean, it's only natural to kind of scream like that. I don't really blame them for that. But they ran up there as soon as it happened. They ran towards it, and then... Which I don't blame them for being a little bit scared, poking their head around that corner, because that's really where it was supposed to be. If someone was going to be there, that's where it would have been. Now, there's a couple things. I'm going to go full screen so you guys can see this, but I'm going to kind of talk and narrate. Now, right here, as they start to go by, you notice there's no shadow there. All right. So the first time that the camera passes, there's nothing there. Then the camera starts to go back. Now, here's what's interesting. When the camera starts to go back, it's still not there. Now we're looking and we see it pop up. There you go. There you go. So this is a very unique one. This is one that I really like for this reason. And think about all of the other episodes we've talked about, all the other times we've looked at this phenomena. It's consistent, right? We have a solid black mass. You can't see through it. There's no distinct features, but it seems intelligent. And remember, like what I've said about other episodes, it seems more curious than anything else, okay? So every time we see something like this caught on camera, it's always peeking around a corner, peeking from behind something. We see it and then it disappears, okay? It's, again, you see this, freak out, but just know there's really nothing to be scared of here. I would say this is more of a curious being than anything else. So yeah, they do the right thing, which some people might not actually do that. Some people might not run towards what they see. So I'm really impressed with this too.
Yo creo que es momento de retirarnos porque... ¡Ay, no mames, no mames, no mames! ¡Ven! ¡Ay, güey! ¡No mames, yo vi algo! ¡Vamos, ven! ¡Ven, ven, ven! Algo se asomó aquí. ¡Ven, por favor, algo! ¡Córrele, córrele, córrele! ¡Ay! ¡Ay! ¡No mames! ¿Qué hay aquí? ¡Córrele, Meli, ven! ¡Ay, no mames! Es que yo aquí vi que se asomó algo, te lo juro.
So there we go. Now, when we talk about kind of authenticity, I think this is a genuine clip. I've got no reason to not believe this. Now they're actually looking under and kind of all around. As far as investigations go, this one is, they did a good job on this one. Now, we're going to end it with a doozy. Now, the only way to end this is to give you the real full feel. Remember, last episode we ended with a big bang, and I think we have to up our game, but also keep it very factual. When we take a look at this video, this is from, I believe, the Netherlands, so it's not in English, but I think all of the things that happen in this video, now we're going to look at 3, 4, 5 different events that someone kind of recorded and kind of kept a little record of everything that happened. Everything that happens here, we've talked about throughout this entire series. These are all events that I think are accurate. I have 100% believe all of these. Check it out. This one, and we're going to talk about we talked about what a real haunting looks like in other episodes and what to look for on your camera. But now let's talk about what a real haunting looks like if it is aggressive. It might be something like this. Now, again, I don't think this person's in any danger, but this is more along the lines of, okay, now this is kind of intense.
What the fuck is that?
So that was the first event. Now let's kind of break this down a little bit. So I let you guys kind of watch that whole first event as it took place. There's a lot that was going on here. There's a lot. Now, first thing, we talked about this, I do believe, in the barber shop when I was talking about how the fan or whatever started moving. This is exactly what I'm talking about, where I've seen videos like this where paranormal activity starts to kick up and you'll see a chandelier start moving. I literally said this a month ago, and this is a good example of it. So the chandelier starts moving around, and then you're going to notice that the kitchen light starts turning on and off. Okay, these are all very, very basic things, but when you tie them together, they can be a little bit intense too, right? So again, I'm very impressed that this person starts to kind of go towards the kitchen. And once they start going towards the kitchen, they go into the kitchen and you see that no one's there, right? So the other interesting thing is as they poke their head around, you're going to notice that all the cabinets and the drawers are open. This is very common anytime that you're dealing with a poltergeist. Remember, a poltergeist, so Hollywood's made that a really scary thing. They're pranksters, they're tricksters, they want attention. And sometimes they get joy out of scaring you. So this is kind of what you're looking like there. Now, this is the cool thing. Now, as the light goes out, okay, she just left the kitchen. As the light goes out, you're going to see a shadow person stick their head out right here. And it's good. All right, now, that was the first clip. So let's get into the second clip. Here we go. Kitchen light again. Now I do need to pause here because I want to point out that though there's different occurrences here, because when she goes around the corner this time, notice that the drawers and things are not open and no one's there. It's a small kitchen. All right, now in this one, watch the clock.
Gaat er ook al vandoor.
So in this scenario, that clock kind of went flying off of the little mantle. Now in this scenario, I'm just going to let you know, you're not going to see like a ghost or anything, but you're going to see something, and I don't know, it's like a goblet or it's something like that. Sorry, the music's loud. It's just going to go flying off the shelf, like in a second or two. But there is something when this goblet flies off the shelf that is a little odd to me, and it's the pattern that it rolls. So normally if it fell with some kind of momentum, you'd think that it would fall and kind of keep moving quickly. Well, in this scenario, it looks like it's just rolling slowly, but it almost looks like it's rolling with a purpose. It's kind of odd. Now in this event, just pay attention. I would say listen more than watch. Okay, now I do have to pause here. There's something I've got to break down. I don't agree with this clip. All right, now I'm gonna give you what I think. All right, so right here, you see the lights flickering on and off. Slightly, like this is straight up horror movie. Like you're just waiting for something to show up, but it doesn't, okay? So right here, look how clear it is, kind of looking through the glass, all right? Then it's gonna go out. Now it's gonna turn back on. Still pretty clear. This time when it turns on though, notice that it's darker, okay? It's darker. I don't see any kind of form. I don't see any kind of mass, but it is significantly darker, like we're looking through something. Whether that's a fog or whatever, I don't want to go the full-on route of saying that, you know, it's the same thing as we saw in the beginning, like a shadow person, but it's definitely not as clear to see through that glass as it was a second ago. What it is, I don't know. Okay, so knowing that, let me go back and I'll let you watch the clip. Now we're to the last clip. Again, it involves the clock. There's that thing moving around again, which I said, you don't see it all the time, but you will see it from time to time. Now what we're looking at right here is we're looking at the curtain. The interesting thing that I would like to point out is that so that light is spinning around, so there could be an air current, right? So it could be drawing energy from the air, could be a cold spot, and it also could be doing that. But now you see the curtain actually move. Actually, that gave me chills a little bit. But as the curtain starts to move, it moves like it opens and then it moves like it closes. Again, this investigator does something I like. They move it. Like they actually go and look. All right, now I do think there's just one more thing that happens. I don't even entirely know. I'm looking at a little bit of time left in this video. Very nice. Something gets thrown. And that's about it. So as she walks in there, you're going to see some ads pop up. So I'm going to stop it before the ads pop up. But something, it looked like it kind of got thrown out of the kitchen. She goes right in there, turns the light on, nothing in there. So kudos. So what we saw this episode is we saw what some aggressive haunts would look like. We saw some more shadow people, talked about Bigfoot. We talked about some other stuff. I thought overall this was kind of a fun episode. It starts off, you know, like some of the more realistic things. We talked about the news, and then it picked up quickly. So VIP members, I truly appreciate you guys signing up. Let me know in the comments what your favorite clip was. The people that have been telling me what they like, that's why you're getting more of these intense clips and some of the more intense settings, is because they like that, I guess. So we're going to keep everything true. So I'm not going to go and find some blatantly fake thing that's just super scary. I'm going to find things that I think are real that also cross the line of, okay, let's get the heart rate going a little bit. So again, we're going to kind of mix that in as we can. As always, I appreciate everyone for subscribing, spread the word, and I will see everyone on the VIP show or on the After Hour show or on the next episode of Declassified.